First of all, thank you, Mayor Miller, for agreeing to be a part of our Center for Collaborative Journalism Ask Mayor Miller segments. We have talked with the community and solicited questions, and then we also have questions from our media partners. So let's jump in right away. Public safety was a big issue in the campaign, and one of our viewers wants to know, when will local law enforcement see some new officers on the streets and new recruits in training?
Well, I think that's a very good question, and one thing I can tell you, we will be talking to you soon about that. I have spoken with the sheriff, and we have 20 new deputies that we believe have been approved and hired, especially since the pay scale came out. So we think we have 20 new officers already. People talked about the 150 short, but our ultimate goal is to make sure we don't need 150 officers to keep Macon-Bibb County safe.
And you have talked in the past about getting retirees perhaps coming in to fill some of these slots. Has there been any progression toward that?
It has. I've been working closely with the sheriff about that. We have this new school zone initiative that's coming up. One of those requires a officer to review each of those tickets, the citations that we have, and I've talked to him about bringing back some part-time deputies for that, so we don't want to use police officers to do that could be out on the road. We've also talked about, and I've had conversations with our new district attorney as well as the public defender on some ways we can look at reducing the size of the jail as far as the number of people in the jail through our work release program. So I'm looking forward to have more conversations about that, but we believe that's going to decrease the amount of officers that we have at the jail, and we'll have more officers on the patrol. I've also reached out to the State Patrol. We've asked them for some assistance on our interstates and off the interstates for various issues. We believe that by increasing their presence, it would decrease the amount of officers we have to have on patrol in those areas, which actually will put more officers on our streets. So I think we've had a lot of input so far on public safety, at least the one aspect about putting more boots on the ground.
And of course, right after you came into office, one of your main focuses was dealing with the homeless situation. We have the new Brookdale Warming Center, and it's been a success, generally full most days. Clearly, there's a need there that's being filled. So far, money from nonprofits has been making that happen. So long term, what role will the county play, do you believe, in funding a permanent warming center, or what plans do you have in dealing with the homeless on a more permanent basis?
Well, I think when we entered into the warming center situation, we always knew there was going to have to be an exit strategy. But that exit strategy, in my opinion, needs to be a full-time 365-day facility in Macon-Bibb County. Whether it's at that location or another location, I'm pretty confident to say that we won't be closing the warming center on April the 1st. I think we have some other options there. As a matter of fact, we can probably lose the name of Warming Center and perhaps come up with something else. We've made too great of an impact on our community and the lives of those people there, which sometimes up to 150 people, to just simply come in one day and say it's over. So I'm looking forward to making some announcements about that in the near future, working together with our commissioners as a team to come up with a long-term strategy, along with our partners in the community that's been helping out for the warming center right now. So I think better days are on the horizons for our most vulnerable in Macon-Bibb County. The county will have to put up some money on that, but I believe we have money already in the budget. But we've been very fortunate now. We've been open almost 7 weeks now, I think, and are getting close to 7 weeks. And we've used money from many of our good people in Macon-Bibb County have stepped up to the plate. We have some other new announcements on donations to announce next week, and we're very excited about the part that our community continues to step up to the plate on.
And of course, it's more than just a warming center. It's not just people coming in and staying out of the cold. Can you tell us some of the other measures you have taken to improve the lives of the people who are needing this service?
Sure. Our school system has been a great partner from the very beginning. And with virtual learning going on, that's always been a challenge for students. And we have several there at the warming center. So they've actually made arrangements to have some teaching there at the school, mini classroom that we set up, technology support for the virtual learning. We've had counselors come in from drug addiction to mental health counseling, caseworkers. We've been able to place several people in permanent residences right now. You saw a story here recently about that on David King, who was one of our first residents there. Found him some a permanent apartment there, housing, and he actually volunteers on a daily basis at the warming center. We've been able to reunite some people there, at least 2 people reunited so far with family members outside of Macon, Georgia, and outside of the state of Georgia. Reunifications is certainly a part of that. We've had the Hands of Grace come down from Warner Robins, and they actually were there providing services like cutting hair of 35 people on 1 or 2 weekends that we have that got haircuts. We've had a dentist come over there and actually perform some dental work out there from the Rutland, I think, Dental Clinic. And we've also had some medical facilities come by there, or part of their program there, to make sure we check on the health and well-being of our people there. So we have a lot of wraparound services where the people have stepped up. Salvation Army continues to do a good job of feeding 3 times a day, loaves and fishes, as well as Daybreak and other partners have really stepped up to the plate to make this thing happen.
Of course, another one of the issues you started right away on was blight. And of course, people have seen the Clean Streets Initiative. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that is working and how people can get involved in making sure we have a clean and beautiful community?
Yeah, that's the other thing is the mayor and his office, our staff, have convened all the right parties, and that's what we do. We're a convener for the public. Our public safety department, public works department, our parks and recreation, our solid waste department, even the sheriff's department through G-Wing, but Keep Making Bibb Beautiful has stepped up as well. Forming a broad coalition of supporters like that has been something that I've been looking forward to. It helps really get the momentum going, and not only have we done our part, cleaning up roughly now about 90 dumps, illegal dumps that we cleaned up this year. In just over a month we've done that, and last year they cleaned up 25 dumps the whole year. So we're making a dramatic impact in the community. We're really getting the communication out about the C-Click fix, so people are starting to take interest and take notice of that and learning the process to notify us all the problems that we've had. So that's a great community effort. But probably the biggest thing we talk about is the 18 to 20 cleanups that our community has already signed up to do. That's really getting some momentum for Keep Making Bibb Beautiful. Caroline Child and her group is doing a great job there. It's a pleasure working with her and her staff, but we have to continue to grow this. We're going to have a great initiative that we're going to announce coming up that we're scheduling for April the 10th. All of Macon-Bibb County, I mean everybody. We're going to shut Macon-Bibb County that day, and everybody wants to pick up trash that day. So we're going to make arrangements to have rollout dumpsters at any neighborhood cleanup that they want, to make sure we have grabbers and trash bags, and we're going to clean Macon-Bibb that entire day of April the 10th. So we're looking forward to rolling that out with Keep Making Bibb Beautiful in the near future, but it's something we all can be proud of. It's part of a public safety plan as well. I mean, people need to have a clean environment in which to work, and also, the crime certainly affects all those areas.
You mentioned the G-Wing, which is inmates from the jail working out on details. We had a listener inquiring why they no longer really see prison details working along the roadsides here. Is that something we can explore, or is that something that's no longer provided either through the state system?
Well, I think people sometimes get confused about that. Our G-Wing here are for people who are actually waiting to go to court or may have minor offenses that they've received some local jail time. Most people think of Bibb County Law Enforcement Center as a prison, and it's not. Most of the people there haven't made bail yet, or waiting to go to court, or there for probation violations, or waiting for the state to pick them up. So you can't use inmate labor like that. The people you used to see on the side of the road, perhaps in orange jumpsuits that were cutting grass or picking up trash, those were state inmates, and it's not free. We pay a lot of money to have inmates work, because you have to have officers out there, you have to have transportation, you provide workers' comp, you have to still pay for the gas and pay for the supplies there. So a lot of times it doesn't save you a lot of money. It may make people feel good to see prisoners working out there, but unfortunately in the last year, because of COVID, they put a complete halt on that. The state does not allow inmate labor to be used or hired out during this COVID situation that we have here, so that's why you haven't seen them in the last year.
And of course, you mentioned C-Click Fix. One of our listeners mentioned an illegal dump site that's near Cox Cafe. What should people do when they see dump sites like that?
Well, they should use the app. They should go online and make sure we're notified of that, even if it's been done in the past. We want to make sure that people know that we're going to address this issue, but they can help us in that situation. As a matter of fact, you can go on there and look and see how many people have reported it. When they get fixed, when they get picked up, it'll remove them from that site and show that it's a ticket that's been taken care of. So we want people to continue to do that. It helps us provide better service to our community. I'm aware of that particular site. We got a crew that's going to be scheduled to clean up that site. And honestly, that particular site there is in an area where we're going to have one of our convenience centers. Our convenience center is going to be, the first one's going to be located at the old animal shelter downtown, because people are familiar going to that general location. So we're going to be in the process of taking that building down and building a convenience center there.
When you talk about a convenience center, can you explain what that is? I think people might be confused about the difference between a transfer station and a recycling center. And so what will these convenience centers entail?
Well, it entails all of what you mentioned. First of all, we call them a mini transfer station. But what I would envision is a 5-acre tract that you would drive in, and you would see a guard shack there where a worker would work. And you would drive around there, and you would have places for recycling. Maybe there's a tire case there, cardboard, metal, aluminum, perhaps glass, recycling in that area. And then you'll see 4 or 5 bins that are about 4 feet tall, which are your roll-out bins that you could easily put something over, where you put your sofas, your mattresses, your other debris at in those. And a person will be there to help you if you couldn't do that, but also to tell you where the proper place to put that is. We would open these probably 4 days a week, 10 hours a day. And it'll be manned. It'll be under security, so we'll have a fence there. Be very aesthetically pleasing, which means we'll have shrubbery there. This is not a dump. I want people to know that this is not a dump. If it's near you, you would appreciate it. There's no smells. There's no household trash that's there because that's picked up at your house. We're going to do this on top of picking up the regular debris that you have on your house now, but it allows you the opportunity to actually bring it there a lot quicker than have someone pick it up. And we think that's going to provide a reasonable service to people at no additional cost.
Now, I know you've had one site identified and you're looking for 4 others. So what is your timetable of either getting that first one up, and when do you hope to have all 5?
Well, we want the first one up in 90 days. When we say we want to close the landfill at Walker, we're going to do that. There's 2 kind of closure. One's closing for a permanent basis and starting the process there, and we've already began that process. The other is when we say it's closed to the public. You know, we're locking the gate. You can't come in there. We have to have a place for them to go. So until we do that, until we have that first convenience center, we can't allow that to happen. So we expect 90 days, but we're actually going to roll out 2 or 3 of these right behind each other. We've asked each of our commissioners to look at surplus property that may be in their district to give us some suggestions so we can put our eyes on there and look and see how much it would cost to do that. We have a consultant, Hostetler and Associates, our engineers, to do that, and they're going to be drawing each of these for us. We have several locations that we have in mind, but we want to get feedback from the community as well as feedback from our commissioners before we make those decisions.
We also had a reader who was concerned about hunters in their neighborhood. What should someone do if they live in an area where there's hunting land nearby? Is there anything that should be done, or what avenue should they take to address their concerns?
Yeah, well, maintaining the safety of all of our community is always an important goal, and it's our primary concern here in Macon-Bibb County. And hunters have rights too, so what I would tell that person to do is to make sure that they can research the statute themselves to make sure they're within their rights and make sure their rights not being violated, but also they can reach out to the rangers there if it's in an area where that has rangers as well, or you can reach out to the state, but our local sheriff is probably the primary starting point at the non-emergency number. I would recommend calling them and finding out what your rights are to make sure that you're within your rights as well.
Now, there's also issues surrounding violent crime and how that pertains to some other mental health issues we might have surfacing in our community. What are your plans to address the heart of some of those issues that could possibly lead to crime?
Well, you can't really address violent crime without going to the root causes, and one of those is mental health. We're going to be rolling out a very new initiative that we're asking the commissioners to approve on next Tuesday. We're going to roll that out tomorrow, actually, and it's called Making Mental Health Matters. And what we're wanting to do is get out into the community. We have looked at the data. Our administration continues to look at the data, and we follow the data. The data tells us that we have several communities in Macon-Bibb County who need more assistance than others. They're more challenged from a financial standpoint and from a crime standpoint. And we've identified these areas, and we're going to have a mental health group that's going to be targeting those areas, mainly our youth and our youth parents. They're going to do things like anger management, conflict resolution, mental health counseling, parenting counseling, directly targeting, meeting them where they're at. This is a no-cost mental health clinic that'll be in places like the Booker T. Washington Center, Pendleton Homes, Gilead Recreation Center, Rosa Jackson. Those are some of the areas we're considering. Brookdale Warming Center, where we can give mental health treatment one-on-one at no cost to the people who need it the best. And we believe that by targeting 300 to 500 families in those areas, we can make a dramatic impact in our crime rate in the future.
Now, of course, the pandemic with the vaccine out there now, I think people might be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, although President Biden said that it really won't happen until the end of this year at the earliest. So what do you see as the chief challenges in getting Macon-Bibb County back to quote unquote normal?
Well, first of all, we can't be complacent. We have to make sure that we stay vigilant in wearing our mask and social distancing as much as possible. We have to be smart when we go out into large groups or have gatherings. We're going to continue to have to do that. But I do see the light at the end of the day. We are basically seeing some numbers drop now. We're going to have some great initiatives on a better way to get vaccinations to Macon-Bibb County in the very near future. I'm excited about that news and working with our partners and making sure that everybody has a chance to get that. That's certainly going to help the more people we can get vaccinated, but we continue to have to, like I said, we have to be diligent. We got to make sure we do what we can as a community. Right now, we still have an executive order in place by myself as well as the governor. That does not expire until March the 7th. I'll be speaking with the governor about what he may extend that. We're looking forward to having a safe cherry blossom. I think we can do that in a safe manner. They've been planning the last year on how to do that outdoors and how to maintain all the protocols to keep people safe, to make sure we can kind of return to normalcy to some extent from Macon-Bibb County. And I think we can do that in a safe way. I think our businesses, our tourism are going to flourish as soon as this is over, but we have to do it in a smart way.
Of course, right before this hit, downtown was experiencing a big boom, but there's still at least a quarter of the storefronts in the central business district right here in the urban core that are vacant. Do you have any plans at this point for economic development in this particular area?
Well, what I can say without releasing too much information is we have substantial interest from outside investors in downtown Macon. And I look forward to being able to roll out some information on that in the very near future. But in the meantime, we've been working with Newtown to make sure, actually, their occupancy has increased greatly, from 50% to 78% of the target area. So things are already underway to make that happen. I think the new hotel that we have coming directly across from the auditorium is going to make that a better opportunity to have more people on the ground in downtown Macon. I think the auditorium will be done for our new our celebration here in the next year and a half. So I think that's going to bring a lot more visitors here. Our museums are going to continue to do great things. We have a new director at the Tubman Museum. I know Jim McClendon from the Sports Hall, and there's some Douglas things going on. So we have some things in the works. Our Coliseum is starting to pick up now for people having different sporting events there for the near future. So I think you're going to see an increased traffic, which brings increased business. Also, there are several financial incentives that's going on through Newtown and others to loan money at a very low price to bring new business down to Macon. So I think things are still on the horizon. We just had a minor hiccup here with the COVID, and we're going to see things return to normal in the very near future.
Of course, some say that the economic successes of downtown lifts up the whole county. But what about those other neighborhoods and those other business districts, like, say, Eisenhower, even North Macon? What is the next step in pushing economic growth outside of downtown?
Well, Macon-Bibb County, as far as the downtown, does bring a lot of tax revenue, but we can't forget about all the the spokes to that wheel. If you look at Houston Avenue, we have some things in the near future for that. We started with the mental health. We started with the blight in that area. You're going to see some building in that area. You're going to see some removing of some blighted structures, but we're going to see some new businesses in that area. I'm hopeful of that. We have some huge plans that we're going to announce this year for the Bloomfield area. I think we're going to see that really come to life under our administration. That's going to be a focal point to reach out to other parts of Macon-Bibb County and not just focus on downtown. Pleasant Hill is starting to have some great growth in that area all the way out through Vineville. I think that's going to continue to grow and to build. In East Macon with the I-16, I-75 corridor, you're going to see a lot of expansion business to that area. And with the Old Mugging National Mounds that we have there, that's going to bring a lot of traffic and a lot of expansion to there. So I think you're going to see that at least our administration is going to be focused on the entire community. I don't think we have to limit it to downtown Macon, even though we're going to continue to drive that. But I do think that we have an initiative that's going to go on in each and every one of those communities. I'm real big on community resource centers. I think those are excellent ways to generate communities and get them excited and involved in it. I like the business incubators. I think we can do more of those and do those in other parts of the community where people really can can get involved and engaged and continue to grow there. So I think there's good things on the horizons in each of those areas. We're not taking anyone for granted. We want equity across our whole county, and that's something that I'm willing to do and put the time and effort to do so.
Of course, with the departure of the Kroger on Pionono, we've heard a lot about food deserts and food insecurity in the community. What can the government do to level the playing field? As you said, you want it to be equitable across the county, but is there a role that government can play in making sure that there are adequate grocery stores, let's say?
Well, I think the government certainly has to play a role. I mean, these are our people, our citizens. I think that, some of these other things we're doing, eliminating blight. I mean, business is going to come where there's people at and where there's money at and where there's houses at. They do their numbers. So if we take care of the trash, we take care of the blight, we have a rebuilding program for these neighborhoods, you're going to bring a business that's going to be interested there. However, I do know that at least 2 or 3 of the commissioners are putting together now some resolutions. We've talked about some incentive packages to entice the right people to come into our neighborhoods to take care of some of the food deserts we have. Not just a Kroger over there. There's other areas that need that. House and Avenue needs a good, healthy choice in that area. Unionville needs a good, healthy choice in that area. Pleasant Hill, we all need good, healthy choices in our neighborhood that people can get to, transportation. So I think that I would expect, at least in the next 30 to 45 days in our commission meetings, that we'll have some discussions around that. And I think, I know Virgil Watkins and Paul Bronson and Seth Clark have been working together. We've had some discussions with them about some possible incentives that we can have to really jumpstart that situation with the food desert. So I'm looking forward to having those conversations.
Of course, affordable housing is an issue that is all across the country at this point. Mike Austin will tell you that they can't even open up applications without them closing out in a day for some public housing. And we do have a couple of more developments that are coming in the next few years now that Tyndall is finishing up. So do you have any plans to work with outside agencies maybe to allow for reduced mortgage payments for depending on people's income, or does anything like that currently exist?
There's some things that exist now, some small programs. Certainly our ACD has some grants and things to help people build. But what we're looking at when we tear down these blighted structures is to build them back up. One of the things I want to do is set aside a certain amount of money that we have for low interest loans for people who need that. And it is similar to what you're talking about, but I think that we can do revolving loan funds that can actually encourage people to build or to buy some of these structures and rebuild. A lot of times they don't have the capital to do that, and they certainly don't have the 100% that's required a lot of times to do that. So we want to be able to give an amount of money at a small interest rate, say 3% for revolving loans, that would help them get the housing they need. And I think we can do that, especially with all the properties we're going to have that's going to be coming down from the burn structures and other blighted structures. We're going to make a great impact. And we don't need to consolidate all this into one particular area. I think it needs to, all the data we see suggests that you should be able to spread this out to make sure that you don't have gentrification, you have a good diverse neighborhoods. And I think one way to do that is to do these types of projects. And I'm looking forward to putting some money behind that.
All politics is local, and you have people that continually call about potholes on their streets and such. What is the mechanism in place? Probably see, click, fix, but what else are y'all doing? And can the city be even liable if someone damages a car because of a deep pothole or something?
Yeah, I mean, the city cannot be liable for the potholes, but we do try to address those as we see them. We've recently transferred over a lot of the storm water, wastewater over to the Macon Water Authority, and what you'll find is a lot of these things created are created partly because of that. I think they're addressing those situations. Water gets up underneath there, it creates a situation where there's potholes there, it washes out because it can't go down the drains properly because they haven't been cleaned or maintained in a while. So that infrastructure change is going to really help with the potholes. We have numbers, thousands of potholes that our public works takes care of on a yearly basis. They're constantly working, but time, money, and the weather has a lot to do with those. So we're going to continue to do our due diligence on those. We're going to continue to have a road program that we believe that we can put the proper finance behind. Commissioners are right now going through their districts and looking at the ones that that needs the most attention. But we do get those calls on a daily basis. It's kind of like the see, click, fix. We put them in a priority that we have. We repair them. We put money behind it, and we do our best to try to upkeep those. But we also have to look at why these are getting created and get to the root of the problem, so we have fewer in the future that we have to pay for.
I know that commissioners always seem to want to know how you come up with the list for different road work improvements and such. And there was some discussion back, I know that there was a presentation before you came on about using some real hard data in terms of sending scanners on equipment that would scan the condition of a road and then rank them on their worst condition gets fixed first or something. Is there anything like that in place now?
Yeah, I think the company is robotics. It's called Robotics, and they basically do their analysis of the roads themselves to pick out the ones that they feel like they're the most dangerous condition or the oldest or the ones that need to repair first. It goes by how much traffic is on the road, whether or not it's the main gateway or not, so it gets traveled a lot. So it's something, if it's your district, it's the most important in the whole world. And if you travel that road every day, it's the most important in the whole world. And certainly to that person who may hit that pothole or have to dodge it, or that road condition, they want it paved in their road. Paving is a lot of money. It's one of the biggest expenses we have, and you'll be surprised, a small area may cost sometimes $1 million just for a small area to do, and we have a lot of roadway in Macon-Bibb County. So there is a situation where they're ranked according to the need. It's a need assessment, and we do try to be equitable across the whole county to make sure that everyone in every district gets taken care of. But we simply do not have enough money to take care of all of it, because this is an infrastructure that hasn't been completely funded over the last 30, 40 years. So we're playing catch up on a lot of that. We're trying to prioritize and get to the most needed areas, and we do, once again, use data and use companies like that who can evaluate that to kind of give us a longevity piece there.
And as we close out our first Ask Mayor Miller segment, is there anything down the road that you would like your constituents to know is coming up on the horizon?
Well, we have many things down the road. So all I ask the community is to continue to engage. We pride ourselves on engaging the community to see what they want. Our transition team did an excellent job. We had almost 50 action items that we have. And we're clicking those off. We've only been here 6 or 7 weeks now, and we've done a lot of work, but we're going to continue to work hard for the community. We ask them to be patient, though, because sometimes, it takes a lot of people getting together to make these things happen. So we want them to be engaged, but also be patient on some issues to give us a chance to show you what we can do. We're going to touch each and every part of Macon-Bibb County, every zip code, every area, every neighborhood is going to be touched at some point in time. So just because we start in one area, don't think that we're neglecting you. This is very data-driven, and we're trying to take the most serious issues first, and then we'll move on from there. So I look forward to having these conversations. I think it's a good thing to communicate with the people, but we have many, many initiatives to go, and I'm looking forward to unveiling that, but we have to do it in a strategic manner, because we have to make sure we have funding for it, make sure that we have the means to do it, and make sure that we have the help to do it. It's one thing to envision something, it's another thing to pay for it and get enough people to make it happen. And I think that's the difference between administrations I've seen before and this administration, is we're going to make sure that we have the money and the willpower to do it, and the political capital that we do to make something happen before we announce it. But we've done a lot in a short time, and we're looking forward to a lot more the rest of the year.
One more question, though. Speaking of money, because you brought it into my mind, you had mentioned talking with the legislative delegation about an OLOST. Is there anything that is on the horizon as far as that's concerned?
Well, I certainly have been in communication. I actually traveled to Atlanta and the Capitol yesterday, met with every single local delegation member, and we had a long conversation, very fruitful. Looking for some great announcements to come, and we're going to watch that process. We do know that before March the 4th, we need to have that bill ready so it can cross over and vote on it. And I'm hoping that we have a June election this year. So we'll see what happens, but I'm very encouraged about how our local county commissioners have come together to sponsor a resolution 9-0, and I'm very encouraged about right now it looks like we may have unanimous support from the local delegation, and we do have a bill drafted, so we're looking forward to putting that on the floor sometime soon and watching it go through the process.